Okay, so this is an x-ray of a 9-year-old new patient from this week. And he has gastrointestinal issues for 7 months, been to a bunch of specialists. They did a bunch of tests. They can't figure out what's causing it. Mom's trying to change diet, give supplement. It's helping a little bit, but every single day he gets bloating, stomach pains every single day, and gets reflux. So I'm not a GI specialist, but I have had a lot of kids, especially, with GI problems. And one of the most common things that adults will tell us once they start under care in our office is that they have less reflux, less bloating, they can go to the bathroom more regular. We get a lot of babies that come in with colic, and they do really well also. But I mentioned to the parents that we had another kid that was 12. It's a couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago at this point. But H is the first letter of his name. This is, mom wrote this, is not puking nearly as much. It was 100 times a day, because I got the number, I wrote it in there. It was 100 times a day, and we got it down to 20 times a day. That took some time, but he was dry heaving and puking. And, the parents wanted to know why we wanted to take a picture. 9 years old, no one's told the parents about the fact that his spine's supposed to be straight, and you can clearly see that, and he hasn't even gone through his growth spurt yet, that he's got curve, he's got scoliosis, okay? And his hips are off. I basically was explaining to the parents that, look, you've been to all these specialists, not too many. They went to the pediatrician, and then another GI, and then just a bunch of tests. But I told mom, look, when the spine's stuck and locked up, it sends stress signals to the brain, causes release in stress hormones. It puts the body into a fight or flight stress response. That shuts down healing, resting, and digestion, absorption, assimilation, right? When we gently move the spine, get that spine moving properly, it sends positive proprioceptive signals up to the brain, and it affects the vagus nerve, which gets the person and the child out of stress response, right? It shifts them more towards parasympathetic, away from sympathetic overdrive, because most of these kids are stuck in fight or flight. And the father said, I never heard of anything this before, but of this before, but I haven't heard of this, but what could cause this? I said, that's a great question. And if you just think about your kid, if you have one, or if you're dealing with issues, I know most of us want to think that our problems, just started. And if it's acute trauma, yeah, absolutely. If it's something acute that happens, absolutely. And that's like 25% of the time, right? 25% of the deaths in this country are from acute. 75%, though, are from chronic disease, things that take a while to develop. It's sneaky, right? So I said to the father, I go, listen, I know he's only 9, but, there's 2 major studies on birth trauma. There's 2 major studies. One showed it's 80% of the time during the birth process that the first bone, the atlas, shifts out of alignment, puts pressure on the brainstem, can shift them into fight or flight, sympathetic overdrive. And there was another study that showed it's 93%. So I said, based on those 2 studies, which I have those studies, I use them in my workshops and my talks, I say, so we have to agree it's between 80 and 93% that during the birth process, but then also learning how to walk, slips and falls. The mom said, what about a heavy backpack? What about he plays soccer? What about, so they're thinking, physical examples of what can actually cause the spine to get stuck and locked up. And I said, yeah, but also remember, it's physical, chemical, and emotional stress, and DMF, electromagnetic frequency. But when I explained that to them, it made perfect sense. It was like, wow, this is common sense, but I just didn't think of it this way. And that's, most things, once we hear it, it should, hopefully sound simple if it's a good explanation, right? Especially with health, it should not be complicated. And even though I'm not a GI specialist, this kid's going to do great. We gave him his first adjustment last night. He loved it. I mean, his spine was super locked up. And I showed mom when he was on the table, I go, look, his hips are rotated. His leg is short, an inch on the left. You could see his scapula, the chicken wings are uneven. He's got a hump. I was just pointing this out. His neck is super locked up. Those joints are all stuck. I pointed all this out to her before we even took the picture. I knew what was going to happen on the picture after looking at that, but, after doing the evaluation on him. And then when they saw it, she was shocked and sent the picture to the dad and stuff, because he was like FaceTiming. He had the other 2 kids. So, but he'll do great. And then the dad, he asked me some great questions. He said, well, how many visits? I said, well, typically, kids respond great because they're younger. But if it's a situation where he's feeling these symptoms every day, it depends how fast you want to get rid of them. But typically what we'll say is something like 3 times a week until the symptoms are 25% improved, 2 times a week until they're 50% improved, 1 time a week until they're 75% improved. Then you can stay at 1 time a week or go once every other week until the symptoms are 100% cleared. And we clear kids quick. But also if a pattern's been locked in there for a while, it takes time. If you've been dealing with it for 6 months and nothing's working, it's going to take what it takes for the body to heal, right? And sometimes symptoms don't always go away 100%. Like even with H over here, it was 100 down to 20, and he's been in a bunch of times. I haven't seen him in a while, actually, but he came in for quite some time. But the mom was like, listen, this is the only thing that's working. I'm going to keep doing it. He was really active. It was affecting him playing baseball, so. But I know this guy's going to do great. So, if your kid is stuck in fight or flight, they might have symptoms, they might not. But the best thing to do is just to come in and let's go over, do a consultation and to check them. And if the kid can do a motion study, we'll do that with the kid. If they can't stand for x-rays, for digital x-rays, we'll do a thermal scan, which we happen to do on him also. His thermal scan just lit up. Actually, let me see if I can pull up his thermal scan. The kid from yesterday. Let's see if I got the thermal scan. But top, is clear. Bottom is showing. Actually, yeah, I got his thermal scan right here. This was his thermal scan. And the mom and dad looked at this and said, oh my goodness. I said, yeah, he's stressed out like most of the kids, right? So I hope that makes sense.